Aaron Wissner of Local Future. I'm live on the line with Aisha from Ghana in Africa. Aisha, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm fine. What about you?
I'm tired. I didn't sleep as much as I would have liked to, but other than that, I'm doing quite well, thank you.
Great, great.
How was your day at work today?
Um, it was tiring as well, but I got some sleep right after work, so I'm fine now.
Very nice. And do you work? Um, is it night there already? Let's
Ye-
see. It is. Let's see. It's June the 2nd, 2020, and it is 10:24 for you.
Yes, please. Sentence.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually have my computer set on um, UTC time, Greenwich time, so I can just look and see what time it is for you.
Okay.
I've had it set on that for a long time, just as since I make calls sometimes to Singapore or New Zealand, it's just easier that way, kind of. Now, I asked you this morning if you could tell me the story of your ancestors. Is that something that you would be interested in doing?
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, whenever you are ready. I'm very
Yeah.
curious.
I'm ready, so
But
I'm
you'll
gonna
need to
start right
speak.
now.
You'll need to speak loudly because I'm having trouble
Okay.
hearing you. And my ears are very old. They're 50 years old ears, and this one is not as good as this one.
Okay. Okay. So,
In the US, everybody speaks loudly. I'll tell you a little story. So, the one time I flew across the Pacific Ocean, I went to Australia for 1 month. And when I got there, my friends and my friend took me out to a bar, and we played some sort of trivia game. And at the, at the end of the game, people were like nudging my friend Chris, and they said, "That American's really loud, so loud." I think it's because in the U.S., people don't really stand very close to each other. They stand like farther apart, and so we speak more loudly. Plus, I have a teacher voice because I taught um, 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds for almost 20 years. But before that, high school. So, so that's my little story. Are you ready to share your story of your ancestors?
yes, yes. Okay. So this is how I'm starting. So we live in very peacefully. Um, well, before we colonized by Britain, by the British, we were living very peacefully. I think people from the US and other countries of Africa were actually some sort of apes or some kind of animals. Yeah, that's the history like, but we are so human, but yeah. So they live very peacefully until the British they came here. Then they came
Aisha,
here.
the sound is a little bit broken up. So while I think it's probably broadcasting fine, I can't really follow it very well. So can you um, can you go more slowly and more loudly and let me ask questions so I make sure I understand?
Okay,
Is that okay? Or is that,
okay,
yeah?
that's
Okay.
okay, that's okay.
Hey, can I show you something?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Have you seen Google Earth before?
Excuse me.
Have you seen a app called Google Earth?
Google.
Google Earth?
Um, I, I learned it's a 3D, but I know a lot about it.
Can I show you?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm going to show you on your screen. Here we go.
Okay.
And then we can keep talking. I don't know if I'll be able to see you, but you'll be able to see my screen.
Yes, yeah.
Can you see?
Yes, yes.
And where are you?
Um,
Accra? Yes?
Africa. Yes,
Accra.
Praga. Yes, yes.
So you're somewhere in the big city? Are you near the airport or somewhere in this area?
Excuse me.
Can you tell where we're at?
Well, Accra comprises of a lot of small towns. So I can't actually tell where I'm located here because it's too small.
Would you like me to put in the name of your town? You do not have to tell me.
Yes,
It's up to
please.
you. What's the name of your town?
Okay, I don't have any problem. Okay,
Okay.
it's let me spell it out. It's P-A-N-T-A.
Antang West.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Ah, so are you near it looks like you're near a forest?
Um,
Mountains up here?
yes, yes, yes.
I'm not sure why it's so gray colored. It's kind of strange. Do you have pollution over your city much?
No.
No. Well, let's see what we've got here. Looks like there's some pretty big buildings there. Looks like a park over
Yeah.
here. If you want to show us your house, you can, but you do not have to. That is not necessary. If you want to, you can, but I don't know what your address would be.
Oh, oh.
Looks like
I
there's a
would love to, but so I can figure out that my husband's.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I would love to show you my house, but still I will compile to my houses.
Okay.
Okay.
It looks can I just say a few things about um Pontong?
Okay.
So
Um,
it looks like
for
the
now,
house.
contacts either in.
Go ahead.
Excuse me.
No problem. Now, did you grow up in this area, Pontang?
Yes, yes, yes.
And was your parents from here as well?
Again,
Your parents were from Pontang as well?
yes, yes. Okay.
Now, I think on your profile it said that you had a hometown that was further to the north.
Oh, yeah, that's whole hard. This is where my parents will live for years on.
So, why don't we chat about something else? Something that's more conversational instead of a story. What do you have any questions you would like to ask that I could answer for you?
Um, so, okay, I would like to know me more about you and what you do. And feel like writing a lot. What inspires you? What you don't just write, but you write please, but I just to know more about that.
Okay, can you ask me just one question slowly because the sound is not good.
Okay, uh, write a lot. I want to know what inspires you to write so much.
I heard what path you, and I didn't hear the rest.
You
Sorry.
write a lot, and you and I want to know what inspires you to write so much.
You're asking me about why I write so much?
Yes, yes.
Well, because I am hoping to be able to give something helpful to people so that they have an idea of a, something else that can be done. In the United States, there are, for example, many people that are very angry because um, all the stores have been closed since March, and only yesterday did most of them open. But some of them are now closed forever. They went bankrupt. And so there are a lot of people who don't know if they're going to have a job. Um, and I don't know if it's about 25% of the people or 30%. I don't know. And the government could send food to everybody, or they could have food at each school. Just go to the school at a certain time and you could have a meal. But the government isn't doing that. The government could send everyone some money every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks, and they're not. And so a lot of people are very scared because they don't know what to do about getting food. And they believe they need to pay other bills, like for their rent. And they're afraid if they don't pay their rent, then the police are going to come and tell them they have to leave their home. Or if they don't pay for their mortgage that they have the police are going to come and tell them they have to leave their home. So people are very angry and scared. They're very scared and angry. And Donald is not helping at all, our president. He will say that something's going to happen, and then it doesn't, that something's going to get better, and then it doesn't. He will go golfing when there's people who have no food, you know, and people want to believe in someone who's going to help them. So in the United States, the 50 states are very much like countries. So in Michigan, our governor here, a woman, she has been trying to do the best she can, and she's been making sure as many people as possible have money so they can pay for their rents and food and medicines and electricity and water and internet. But people are angry at her. Some people are angry at her because she said all the shops had to be closed for a while, 2 months about. And so the people who worked at the shops are angry. The people who own the shops are angry. So there's a lot of angry people. And those people are angry at the governor. The people that are angry at the governor are not angry at Donald. They think Donald is helping them. And then there's the people who think the governor has been helping them, who think Donald is trying to hurt them. So in the United States, we have these two groups. On the one group is the people who believe, well, they say they believe that everyone should be able to, well, it's very complicated. The political parties are very difficult to explain because they don't make sense. They don't really believe in any one particular thing. Like, for example, the one political party says they believe thou shalt not kill.
Mm-hmm.
And they call themselves pro-life.
Okay.
So they believe no abortions ever, even if there's a rape, even if it was incest with the father. They say no abortions ever. Well, maybe if the feed, if it's going to be a stillbirth, then maybe. But so they say no, life is the most important thing. This is the same group though that has the guns that go hunting, killing deer, killing birds, killing whatever. They're always, I mean, it's not, I shouldn't say the whole group, that's very bad of me, but generally those two ideas go together, that you have a pro-life side that believes in thou shalt not kill is only humans, and really only humans in the US. So to go to war is okay. To kill animals in the US is okay. To put animals in little boxes, like chickens, in our country, they'll have 11 chickens in a small cage, very small. And they'll have a row of these cages about half a mile long. And then on top of that, another row of cages. And on top of that, another row of cages. So it's all the women chickens, the females. And so they make the eggs, and they're in this barn with no windows. And then the workers come in and collect all the eggs and give them a little food. And they have no feathers left and stuff. And so they say pro-life, but they believe in, generally, this is what the idea is, they believe it's okay to kill animals, it's okay to harm them on the factory farms, it's okay to kill people if they've done something wrong, it's okay to go to war and kill other people. So it's very strange. The
Very
other side,
strange.
the other side is like, no, you know, if someone wants to have an abortion, they should be able to have an abortion. That is her choice as a woman. It's her body. And what's in her body is hers. It's her part of her. And so if she decides after 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, she wants to have an abortion, that's fine. Generally, if it's like around viability, which is around 7 or 8 months, when if it was born, the baby would live anyway, then it's considered no, you don't, that's not a good idea. And then generally it's an adoption after that. But these are the ones that supposedly believe that we shouldn't go to war, we shouldn't be in Africa, we shouldn't be in the Middle East. You know, the US should not have control over the entire world. But they still eat animals. They don't have guns as much. And um, and then there's all these other beliefs that kind of pile on top of those beliefs. And so the
So,
people, they argue often between each other, the two groups.
oh, which one of the groups do you belong to?
I don't like either one. I mean, I believe that killing is wrong. You're taking someone's life, whether it's a person or a cat or a cow or a deer or a chicken. And that chicken values its life just as much as we value our life. And I also believe that it's actually that when humans, you know, our ancestors, even the Caucasians, the white people, our ancestors 20,000 years ago were of African origin. I mean, our ancestors had dark skin and came out of Africa at some point. And that in Africa, along the equator, there's usually lots of food to eat as far as fruit and nuts and leaves and all that sort of thing. And so humans were probably mostly just plant eating, probably just mostly ate plants. And if, you know, if it was a dry season or a drought and there's nothing to eat, then maybe they would eat an animal just because there's nothing else to eat. So that's my personal belief. And if you go back even further, 1,000,000 years before people used fire for the first time and they picked up a branch that was burning because of a lightning strike or something, you know, before that, they didn't probably eat meat at all, animals, because how would you cook it? And we don't have claws, our teeth aren't very sharp, our stomach acid isn't very powerful, so it just doesn't make any sense. Now, after fire, though, of course, then you can cook animals. So when humans had the ability to use fire, then it was rare. Probably just the men would go out from time to time, and maybe they might bring back a dead animal once a day or something, but it was still a small portion of the amount of food they ate. At least that's the way I think of it. So I don't eat any animals, and my wife doesn't, and my children don't, and I have many, many friends that do not eat any animals at all. They don't drink milk from the cow.
Wow.
They don't eat eggs. So, because I believe when it says, thou shalt not kill, it means back in the garden, Adam and Eve, they were in the garden, right? They ate fruit. So God made them to live in the garden, to eat fruit, plants. That's how our body is made. It was made to eat plants. But when the serpent tempted us to eat meat and we ate it, now we've killed something. We've killed something, and so now we have committed a violation against God, you know, because he made all the creatures. And so by killing something, that was the fall. That's what happened. That we thought we could have control over other animals' lives. And that's arrogance. You know, we're taking the power of God. We're deciding when the animals die instead of God deciding when the animals die. So that was the fall. And then Jesus came, and Jesus said, no, you need to love everybody. You need to love everybody like they're your sister or your brother. And you wouldn't kill your sister, and you wouldn't kill your brother, and there's no reason for you to be killing animals. There's no reason for you to be fighting. You should love everybody. And this whole system we have of money is horrible. In the temples, they have all this money. It's all about money. And they're sucking all the wealth out of the land into the temples and the people that own the temples. And so he went in, you know, and he pushed down all the money changers, all the tables and everything. And then he didn't fight. He didn't have a sword because he believed the best way to win and the loving way to win was to realize that the soldiers, were not being, that they were kind of slaves to the empire. And it was not really their fault that they were being anybody's fault, really. It was just the fact that instead of living in the hand of God, which is, you know, eating fruit and plants and seeds and beans and everything that grows out of the ground, that people were killing animals and each other instead. And so, you know, he went to the cross and he died, and that was his message, that you have to love in order to have a peaceful world. The only way to do it is to live in a peaceful way, which is the same as how Adam and Eve lived in the garden. So now, do I believe there was only one Adam and one Eve? Not really. I think that part's kind of a story, but I think it tells how originally humans were, and that this story was passed down from generation to generation, that, you know, it used to be that we would only eat plants. We didn't have to go chasing after animals to eat anything. We would just eat plants, and then we wouldn't feel so bad when we killed an animal, because we know how bad that feels. You know, you have to go up to it when you killed it and see its eyes. So, but as far as a group of people in the United States, the group that believes the way I do is a very, very small group. It's like 1 out of 1,000 or 1 out of 10,000.
Wow, wow. Your group is really small. Group is really small.
But I don't know what is, I'm curious, what do people eat in Ghana? Like the poorest people, what do they eat? The poor people who live in the country, not in the cities?
Well, Ghana, we eat one food. We eat everything. Vegetables, fruits, to animals. So,
You eat whatever is available. And has it always been that way?
yes, yes. Or whatever you can afford. That's what you eat.
I'm
But
sorry,
but
Go ahead.
There are some religious group in Ghana here which doesn't also eat meat and fish and some kind of animals. We call them the SDAs. They strongly believe it's a sin to eat such animals, so don't also eat them. But they're also small, just like you.
They're what?
They're small in number.
Oh, because I'm
Yes.
tall. I'm 6 feet, so I'm tall, probably.
Yeah.
Well, in India, about half of the people do not eat animals. So that's about 600 million.
Wow.
So that's the biggest group, I think. They will eat milk from the cows, but the cows aren't killed.
Okay.
I don't know if they eat eggs there. I would guess, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, I would like to give my idea about the eating of meat or killing of animals.
Are you going to use the word
Um,
dominion?
no, I just want to give my suggestion on that, my idea.
Go ahead.
Okay, so like I said earlier, we eat meat, we eat fish, we eat animals. Well, our reason is that um God God blessed um every living animal, and there was a time God asked his people to use animals as sacrifices, which they killed animals back in the days to make sacrifices for God, and they also ate some as they use some for festivals and some as well. So we believe God has blessed animals for humans to eat. That is why we also eat animals. Yeah.
Well, and that's the same way as the ones, well, most, the ones who believe that abortion is always wrong. That's the same group that you just described. They also, when they look at the Bible, they do not think Jesus brought a new message. So they interpret when he says love everyone, like I said, they interpret that to mean love everyone who is like you.
Yes,
Whereas
not
there's some
human.
of us like Tolstoy and Gandhi, and I mean, there's just a whole list of people that are like, no, that's not really what Jesus meant. He just really meant love everybody. And when it says do not kill, it means do not kill anybody, you know.
Anything.
So that,
Yeah.
but there's not actually those are called, in the United States, they're called Christian vegetarians, the Christian Vegetarian Society of America. But that's also a small group. I don't think
Okay.
anybody watching this program would probably have heard of them, but they are a real group, and they have like a, a pamphlet that explains different passages from the Bible and how it talks about how, you know, Jesus was trying to be very loving to the animals, and yeah. But in any event, um, I'm sure you have different. You don't necessarily want to talk just about this. There must be other things that are you're curious about that I might be able to answer questions for you. But it's up to you. You can ask any question you like. I do not mind.
Okay. Oh, well, I think I've explained my questions now. Maybe some other time.
Okay. Are you tired?
If you can ask the question, but for now I don't have any question.
Oh, you want me to ask? Okay.
Yeah.
How many brothers and sisters do you have, Aisha?
Okay. I have one brother and two sisters.
Do they live in Pontang with you?
My brother Italy, and my sister is married off. She's in husband's house, and I'm here with my little sister. She's in her room. Yeah.
Um, what is your general what is the feeling of the people of Ghana when someone says China? What do you think when you hear China?
Well, when we hear China, we think of coronavirus. We think of their fake products, which do not last for long. Yes, and we think of the weird animals they eat, like rats, rabbits, and mice. Um, yeah, that's what we think of, and their nature, their small eyes. Oh,
How about when I say Russia? What do you think of when I say Russia?
well, we think Russians are very wicked. That's how to say it. Yeah, that's what we think about Russians. Yeah,
Okay.
some kind of weak people. I don't know, but that's how we see them. That's how most people see them. Yeah.
Okay. How about India?
Well, I must say Ghanaians love Indians because a lot of their movies are shown on our TV stations. They are being translated into our local dialects, and we just love their dressing, their dances, and yes, just love how they are on TV. So we love Indians. I mean, the Indians on TV, how they nice dress, their songs and dances. Yes, love Indians. Yeah.
Hmm. How about when you think of Mexico?
Okay. Okay. Mexico. When we hear Mexico, then their their wildlife. I think they are good at farming. A lot of some of their movies are shown on our TV screens as well. They are telenovelas. That's how we call them here, telenovelas. So we know quite some few information about them. Think about their farming activities. Yeah.
May I please ask you a few more?
Yes, please. No problem.
How about Saudi Arabia?
Come again.
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia. Okay. Um, people from Ghana go there, like, and it's sad the information we hear because when they are being maltreated there, people from Ghana
Hey,
who are there
Aisha,
working are being maltreated.
would you do me a favor, please?
Okay.
When you clap your hands, I can't hear you anymore. Can you hold your hands
Okay.
and then tell me about Saudi Arabia again, please.
Okay. Saudi Arabia, people from Ghana go there to work because the economy is very bad here. So people will tend to seek um, financial assistance from Arabia by going to work. And it's sad the kind of information we hear, the kind of hardship they go through there. the kind of maltreatment they receive from their masters. Um, some are maltreated, some are used as sex toys, I would put it, just because they want help or just because they are working for their masters. And it's very sad. I learned some of them are being killed sometimes. So most people do not like hearing the name Saudi Arabia in Ghana. Call when you hear the name Saudi Arabia, we remember how our people are being maltreated there by the people there. It's not nice at all. It's an eyesore, seriously.
How about when you think about Egypt?
Egypt, well, Egypt, we hear Egypt. We remember the olden Egypt in the Bible, um, where the Israelites were being maltreated for um, a long period of time, and then God finally saved them. But not about present Egypt. No.
How about Israel?
Okay. Israel is God's land for us. But my father went there some time ago, and he was like, there's no peace there anymore, and um there's Christian more there. The people there aren't living Christian lives, and the place is not peaceful at all.
Hmm. How about France?
So France, we don't know a lot about France. Maybe there's their language, which we study in our schools here, which most people find difficult to study. But we don't actually know a lot about it. Yeah.
You clapped your hands again, Aisha.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, in the United States, when we're talking, we very rarely, like if we're sitting down, at least I don't use my arms very much. Not unless I'm really excited about a story. And then, so we also don't say please after yes anymore. We used to.
Excuse me.
You know how um, when you say yes, you always say yes, please?
Yes,
That is very,
it's
very,
our culture to
that's
say
very
please
rare.
whenever to an elderly. It shows it's a sign of respect.
You're calling me really old, Aisha.
Yes. Not really, but
I have
all
gray
respect to
on
you.
my beard. Okay,
Yes.
can I ask you some more questions, please?
Excuse me.
May I ask you more questions about more countries, please?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Mm, Germany.
Well, Germany. I personally don't know a lot about Germany. Mm, yeah.
How about England?
Well, England, the Queen. Yes, Queen. That's all.
And how about the
Queen of
United
England. The-
how about the United States?
well, the United States, one of the states or the countries we give high respect to feel it's ruling the world, the whole world. So a lot of people travel there. Yes, and when we hear United States, well, we think that is the paradise. It's a paradise on earth. Yes, except Trump, which most of us don't like because he's rude and yes, we feel he's rude and he doesn't. Sorry to say, we feel he doesn't respect his people. Looking at videos we watch, and we feel he's racist. Yes, so we don't actually like Trump. Yes.
That's okay. Most people in the United States do not like Trump either, but
Wow.
there's about 1 in 5 that loves him, and they're very loud about it. Very, very loud
Yeah.
about it. And they love him. They think he's going to save them. They think he is, a few of them think he is the new Jesus.
Yes.
For true.
Wow.
And then there are a few that think he is Satan.
Yes, he's actually Satan.
He has two faces, right? Doesn't.
Yes, yes.
Well, many of the people in the United States are not rich at all. Like in the cities like Detroit, where the people only have enough money to buy very bad food. The only food they can afford is food that has lots of
Wow.
sugar and fat and salt. So, like, um, potato chips and hot dogs and like just junk food, horrible food.
Yeah.
And
That
off,
people eat and then grow fat and then become obese.
yes, of course.
Wow.
But it's the only food that they can afford, because if you they only have a small amount of money to feed the entire family. And so the price of certain things here is very low. So if you came here to buy sugar, the price of sugar is it's almost free. It's very inexpensive. And because of that, sugar is added to everything. Um,
Wow.
Another example is milk. Milk is milk is about $3 for 1 gallon. So that would be about 4 liters.
Wow.
So how much does so and $2, um, that's about 15 minutes of labor,
Wow.
because in the United States, $8 per hour for labor would be like the least amount that's allowed to pay a person.
Mhm.
Do you have a minimum amount in Ghana?
No, really, work varies a lot. So you don't have an average amount.
Yeah, so there are certain foods that are much cheaper than they probably are in other places, because um, the large farmers that might have, the companies that might have 1,000 acres, they are paid by the government farm subsidies, large farm subsidies, but it's only for certain things. Field corn, milk, sugar, probably potatoes and rice, but not for vegetables, you know, not for like carrots or tomatoes or any vegetables that I know of. Do you have farm subsidies as well in Ghana?
Um, I have no idea what such forms of these.
Well, that means when the farmer harvests the food and he sells it, he writes down how much he sold and how much money he sold it for. And then he shows that to the government, and the government gives him more money because he sold that
Oh,
food. But usually they
okay.
give him
It
the
doesn't
money,
happen here.
yeah, usually they give him more money before. And this is why the United
It,
States can send food from the United States to other countries because it is very inexpensive. And so it can be sent to places like Eastern Africa or India or somewhere else. Because there's, I think, about 2 times as much food grown in the US as we eat. So we have about 300 million people, and we could feed, I think, twice that, maybe more. I don't know. It's definitely a lot more than we have. Unfortunately, right now, some of the farmers, since all the restaurants were closed and the restaurants weren't buying any food, the farmers had no one to sell the food to. And so they just left it in the fields to rot,
wow.
or they took the tractors and plowed it back into the ground. And for the cows, the
That's
same,
so bad.
yes, and for the cows, the same thing. So the cows, the mothers giving the milk in the little confined barn with hundreds of cows in a barn. Um, so about half of the milk used to go to schools. And then in the school, you had to, at lunchtime, get a small carton of milk. Every student. But most of it was thrown in the trash because very few people like milk when they're children.
Yeah.
Not cow milk. I mean, when they are babies, they like human milk. I mean, we are the only culture in the whole history of anything, of the earth, the only species that tries to take the milk from another animal for an adult. Milk is made for babies of the same species. It's not made for adults of a different species.
Okay. Okay.
So, so the milk, about half of it, since the schools were all closed, there was no one buying it. And so they would put the milk into the trucks. They would drive the trucks to the fields, and then they'd open the truck and let the milk spill onto the field.
Okay.
Do you have other questions for me? Or was I asking you questions?
Yes.
Um, one of the things I was talking about with one of my friends today was how when 400 years ago, 200 years ago, the people were stolen from Africa and taken to the United States to be slaves, that was a horrible, horrible attack on Africa. And that the people who were brought across on the ships and then made to be slaves in the fields, that they did not grow up with loving mothers who were able to hold on to them all the time and love them. And instead, they experienced lots and lots of violence from both the white owners, and then that violence also became like a habit. And so this history of violence in the United States has gotten more magnified, and that is one of the reasons that people are so angry right now still, because when they were children they were not loved in the way that a mother would normally love a child, by holding it and nursing it for 3 or 4 years. In the US, nursing a baby is maybe an average about 1 year.
Okay.
So we were talking about that, and we were talking about why people are so angry. And we were also talking yesterday, I was talking with a friend who knows all about money and how money is used to buy stuff from Africa and other places. So in the United States, we just make as much money as we want, and then we buy whatever we want from the world. So if we wanted to buy everything in Ghana, if the government wanted to buy everything in Ghana, they would just make enough money to buy it all, and they would give you the money, and then they would take everything. Because there's no limit to how much money the United States can make. The United States this year made already something like 8 trillion US dollars to buy stuff from the rest of the world to bring it into the United States. Trees, cattle, grain, palm oil, whatever it is. And not just the United States, but also Europe as well, because Europe can make money also for free. They just make it and they say, here's more money. And then they will buy as much as they want from Africa and from the Middle East and from South America mostly. And so all the riches and wealth of Africa and South America are being pulled away from your continents and brought to here. And that's why we have so much compared to how much Africa has.
Yes.
Does this sound true to you?
Does it sound?
Does that sound like a true statement to you?
Yes, yes, it's very true. Yes.
Do the people feel like that in Ghana?
Yes, yes, we, yes, we feel like that, but in a section of the leaders, the greedy leaders, I'll put it that way because they are the top, and well, they also get the monies, and so they don't actually care about the rest. But we actually feel they are misusing resources, selling them anyhow, and we aren't seeing what they use the money for. Um, it's very true.
So when you were, have you noticed any changes when you look at Ghana? You're 25, right?
Yes, yes.
So when you were a child, I mean, does it look different? Are there fewer trees? Is there more trash? I mean, can you compare, or when your father talks about it or your mother, does he say, oh my gosh, things are getting so much worse?
Well, things are getting worse in some aspects of things, and things are getting better in other aspects. In terms of infrastructure, road construction, I think things are getting better now. More roads leading to towns and villages are better routes, infrastructures, hospitals, school buildings, yes, are being built, nicer ones, modern modern buildings. So I think we've improved confidence, but when we talk of sanitation, it has gone from good to worse, say bad to worse, sorry, from bad to worse. A lot of littering around, and it's normally found in the big cities. That is where you find lots of littering, and in our markets as well, in our local market, there's a lot of trash just anywhere, and it's not pleasing at all. Yes, that's Africa. That's for you.
Well, and I understand that the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund will also offer to build roads and schools in countries like Ghana, and then they will ask the countries to pay back lots of US dollars. So the country has to sell to the United States to get the dollars to then pay the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. And so that's one of the ways that the US gets everything from Africa, not just the US, also Europe, and I think China is doing that as well, somewhat on the
Oh,
east side of Africa more. But the idea that, we're these countries are just making as much money as they want, so that they can buy whatever they want from Africa and from South America and other places, which I think is a horrible, horrible thing.
um, um, yes, excuse me.
Yes,
Can I go ahead?
yes.
Okay. About your right about me. I saw you I was a scam or something, and a whole lot. And actually felt bad. Well, I understand because that is what most people do in Ghana and in Nigeria. Yes, but there's this thing that makes them do that, and I guess you'd also understand if I tell you about it, and that is what I want to tell you about. If you're okay.
Can you do you have anything that's in front of your microphone because you sound a little bit muffled? And my hearing, as I said, is not as good as it once was.
Okay.
So what
Is it
what
okay now?
that's much better.
Okay. So I was talking about the write-up you made about me and you thinking I was a
But
scam.
if you clap hands, I cannot hear you.
Okay, I won't clap. Okay, so I'm starting all over. I was talking about the write-up you made about me. When I first sent you the request on Facebook, and you were thinking I was a scam from Africa. Well, that is what most people do here in Ghana and in Nigeria as well. And I would like to share with you one reason why they do that, if you don't mind.
Please.
Okay. Well, one is the economy is very bad here, and sometimes working on basis you can't actually depend on only that, and they find they want other easy means to make monies. And they also think because we were colonized and enslaved by the whites, and they think they took what belonged to us, our gold, our some of our natural resources, and then we are left poor. So they think it's one of the ways to 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 take back what belongs to them. So they do that and then demand monies and deceive them so that go through what we also went through when we were slaves to them. So that's actually the main reason why they do that. I personally know a lot of people who do that. So I ask them a lot of questions why they do that, and well, apart from they saying they want to take revenge, they have personal reasons to reach out stories, but I actually don't think it's a right thing to do. Yeah. Well, they don't always scam you, they scam we as well. I remember someone wanted to scam me thinking of money, but I just told the person I'd have money, and I had to track the number, and it was actually not a real number. They have this thing. They create their own US numbers, and they are normally in brackets. If you are not clever enough, or if you don't have knowledge about those numbers, you would actually think they are from the US. Meanwhile, they're in the same country with you. So they'll come, they are from the US and they want to help you, but you have to invest in maybe some $200, $500 before they can help you to want to be with US. So get this amount of needs, and if you also pay, then that's the end for you. You aren't going to, your money is gone. So it's not only you guys, they do it to us as well. So it's possible sometimes, but it's just not right to deceive, to defraud people of their monies. You defraud their monies and you don't know what they're also going through. You don't know what they also need the monies for. So it's just not right to deceive people. At least be real with them. Ask them if they have, they'll give you, but don't pretend using a white lady's picture, white man's picture, and pretending to be someone else. It's very risky. I will never do such a thing. I am me. I'll show you the real me. If you like me, fine. If you don't, That's a problem. So I'm not a scum, please. I'm real. This is me.
I know. I know because you found
Yeah.
my story written and then you made the friend request and you were able to tell me it was the story that brought you to my page. And I knew that was real. And because you
Yes.
also cried when we talked about it.
Yes.
So yes, I figured that out. I trust you.
Yeah. I can. You want to see my little sister?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. It's not asleep. Anna, sorry. Then no wako. Moko banga po. Bako niya. Hindi ako. Sorry po. Okay. Just sleeping, and I even woke her up tomorrow. Let's see her.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. It's almost 11 p.m. here. So.
It's 11:35.
Oh, okay. Wow. Wow.
You need to work in the morning.
Yes, please. I have to go to work now.
Thank you so much for the call, Aisha. It has been a great pleasure.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Would you like to make another call tomorrow evening?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, we will see you then.
All right. All right. Bye for
Bye-bye.
now.